Hello people, welcome to the fourth video of our blog, Divulgation Videos, WordPress.com. Today's topic is space travel, so get ready for launch. Now, I'm going to start with a brief introduction of this topic. What is space travel? As normal travel, space travel is simply the displacement from our planet to another planet, or from our planet to a satellite, to a moon of a planet, etc., etc. It really depends on your space mission, actually. So it is actually an actual displacement of you through space using space vehicles. Now, has space travel ever happened, or is it just science fiction? Well, it actually has happened. For instance, the launch of the very first satellite in 1957, the launch of the very first human into space in 1961, the moon mission, Apollo mission 1969 and forward, were considered the first historical examples of actual space travels. And now we are full of projects and other space missions which are on the go. So yeah, it actually has happened and we are working on it. Now, the interesting part, space travel itself has 6 main phases. The very first one is the launch itself, where a rocket using fuels such as liquid hydrogen or liquid oxygen, there could be more types of course, it takes off from planet Earth according to Newton's third law. And once we have taken off, the next important step is the reaching space. That's a very important step. That's the last phase of the space travel on planet Earth, because the next step after that is the orbit itself. In this case, if our mission is to get into the International Space Station or launch a satellite, it's very important to us to get into a certain height level from the Earth for the satellite to orbit, because otherwise it will fall off or just fly away. And we use Newton's gravitational law, the universal law of gravity, to help us to reach the height we need. Now, we have other steps. For instance, we have to travel. We don't need to orbit, we need to travel around. So that's the next actual step. I mean, space probes such as the Voyager, they travel from planet to planet and it's far away already. Now, once we've traveled and completed our mission, the next stage is to re-enter our planet. And this could be very dangerous and very hot. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. So, but once we have came across all of that danger, the final step is the landing itself, which is the most awesome feeling in your life once you land, because people will start considering you as a hero. In this case, if you were a human and you traveled along the universe and discovered lots of cool stuff. What's next? The types of space vehicles. You probably don't know of them, and you don't have to know all of them, because there are not many actual, considered legitimate space vehicle types, but there are the main ones. The main ones are the rocket itself, which is the motor or the engine to get you into space. Then we also have the space stations, such as the ISS, the space craft, such as the Soyuz, which is useful for traveling from satellite to satellite, and for usually traveling short distances. Then we have the shuttles, such as the shuttle itself and the Buran. Then we have the space probes, such as the Voyager. These are the ones that are used for intergalactic missions, which are on the way right now. This really seems like a lot of fun. We have so many vehicles, we have a lot of interesting stuff we can actually do in space. But of course there are a lot of dangers out there. Let's consider some of them. Imagine if we work in the ISS, or imagine if we have to put a satellite on orbit. The very first problem, of course, is the space junk. Yeah, it is real. I mean, the orbits are full of lots of garbage, lots of remains of other satellites that are orbiting around our planet, and it could be dangerous since that can knock off other satellites and other space objects. So what happens? The satellites are forced to use a different orbit level to avoid that. If you have seen Gravity, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, that is real, you know. So space junk is a very problem for orbiting missions, and we have to be careful with that. What's the next problem? The spacesuit. You probably don't know how a spacesuit actually works. A spacesuit is literally another mini spaceship. Its main function is to cancel the hot and the cold entering through the material of the suit itself, because any minor error takes place with your suit and you can either be toasted to death or you can even either be frozen, because if your astronaut is exposed to the sun, you know, he'll die because he'll fry himself to death, or he could simply freeze if he's not exposed to the sun in this case. So the spacesuit must be perfectly clean, repaired, maintained, etc. The next problem, the cosmic radiation. Now, for humans it's not really an issue yet because we haven't been traveling that far in space, but other space probes have been traveling to other planets, and the amount of radiation they have been exposed to is just incredible, because the detectors have detected a huge amounts of them, and if humans were there, unless if they're properly shielded from it, they could end up in having serious consequences. I mean, cancer is one of them, but you know, their skin could simply burn off, and many more. Another problem. The other problem, this is the common one, weightlessness. Now obviously, our organism is used to live on planet Earth. We are acting against 9.8 meters per second acceleration gravity, and our muscles are working for that. What happens if we leave this gravity? Our muscles don't have to contract as much as we are on planet Earth. And so what does our body do? What does our body have to do in response to that? Is of course to lower your muscle mass, because otherwise it's not going to be energy efficient to keep your muscles that strong to work in space missions. The same happens with your bone mass, and astronauts really need to work out in space, and even if they come back to Earth, it will still can't take them a lot to recover all their gains they had prior to leaving to space. So that's a shame of that. What's another problem? The time dilation. This is very interesting. If you know anything about relativity, you know time dilation is simply the fact that your clocks are spinning faster than they are on planet relative to our planet. And you know, if you know anything about the relativity formulas, if you know the Lorentz equation, for instance, you will find out that once we travel faster, getting closer to the speed of light, time actually goes much faster. And because satellites are like traveling at around 7,000 meters per second relative to our planet, then that's very fast, because there's nothing on Earth going at 7,000 meters per second apart from maybe some missiles or military rockets, but you know, so the astronauts are going to have time going much faster than on planet Earth. And of course the final and the most basic one is the cost. I mean, a NASA mission alone, one mission alone costs $450 million. One mission. I mean, we have to travel to Mars, we have to travel to God knows where. Imagine the cost of that, you know, and you know, the more people you're going to have that, the more expensive it's going to be. So space travel nowadays, in the most advanced level, is not very profitable and not very cost effective, but we are working on it. Because the next part I'm going to talk to is the space projects, the current ones we have now. Now, obviously countries like Russia, China and the United States, they are working on the moon project. Russia has claimed that by 2030 it's going to have a moon base. You know, How realistic is that? I don't know, but I have read many articles. So moon colonization is an objective for the superpowers nowadays. Not just Russia, but you know, America and China as well. And finally, this science fiction considered to be space mission, which is not science fiction anymore, is the Mars mission. Yippee! We're gonna discover a new planet. But of course, it's gonna be, according to many articles I read, is 2023. And is, I don't know how many people, I don't know the duration of that, is everything is pretty much classified, but we know a date, so that's good. And you know, we finally need to get some people out there, because you know, life is getting pretty boring here, or maybe not, you know. Anyway, another example of project is to capture an asteroid or a meteor or whatever, and it had, oh my god, and it has actually recently happened. You know, the Rosetta mission, it has actually landed on a meteor. And how is that useful? Well, we can actually find a lot about the substances that are in those meteors or those comets, because we can find out about the substances that are abundant in other planets. This raises to a question: why is space travel important? Well, there are two main reasons why it's very important. Because it allows us to discover new homes, which nowadays it's you know, more of a science fiction, because we have so many problems in our planet that you know, space travel is very unprofitable. And the other reason is to discover everything about the universe, discover where we came from, discover the laws of physics, challenge the laws of physics. So I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, subscribe, and have a nice day.